Good evening. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me tonight for this Werribee Secondary Conference. It's really great to have invited you into my home. I've never had 100 people at once inside my home, but there's a first time for everything. This evening is really an opportunity for me to talk to you about what remote learning is going to look like in secondary in Term 2. And I hope to provide you with some more details, as well as having a question and answer session at the end to hear from you about what might be concerning you as we go into next term. As usual at Heathdale, we're going to begin with a word of prayer. Pray with me, please. Gracious Father, we thank you for your goodness to us now as always. Pray your hand of protection and comfort on our Heathdale families and students, and we pray for this time together that you will guide us and help us. In Jesus' name, Amen. So, of course, you'd be aware from the media, and maybe some of you yesterday also heard Mr. Ross Grace speak, that it is looking like we're going to spend a substantial amount of time of Term 2 in a remote learning situation. The government has really asked that schools work in a remote setting and that all students that can learn from home do learn from home. And so that's the message that we are supporting and being consistent within. And of course, within that, we want to make sure that we continue with the great education for your students so that Term 2 continues to be a serious term of learning and progress for each one of them. It's looking like we will be in Term 2 for at least half the term, possibly for the whole term. So this is a substantial period of time. We don't have an exact time frame from the government at this point. We will continue to make those decisions as that information comes to us. But you know from the end of last term that we were preparing for the possibility of this being the case, and so we feel that we're in a really good position now to make sure that our students and our families are well supported as we go into that time. Just ask if I can bring up a presentation with some points that might help you understand better what Term 2 is going to look like. Nope, not coming up on our screen. That's all right, I'll keep talking. As we move into remote learning in Term 2, we're aware that staff and students are in very changed circumstances. However, we're committed to a continuation of their learning, and we're also committed to continuing to provide Christ-centred education that helps each child reach their God-given potential. We know that families are going to need support during this time, and so you can expect from us that we will maintain a high standard of education for your secondary student. But we also understand that not everyone at home is a teacher. I certainly would not be able to explain Year 10 biology or crunch through Year 11 maths. So this is a partnership with parents and students and families working together. I want to also talk about support in terms of those of you who may have already been impacted by the circumstances we find ourselves in with COVID-19. And if you're experiencing a situation where you have been placed under financial stress of some kind, I want to assure you that the college is well positioned to help those families. We don't want you to be worrying at this time about your child's education on top of everything else that's going on. We want to assure you that we have things in place, and we're continuing to put things in place to help families who might need assistance during this time. Our first priority is those families who have been immediately impacted from the COVID-19 situation, but we will continue, and the board and Ross Grace and our business manager are continuing to look at the impact on families. Please, if you are struggling, please get in touch with our accounts department. Make a phone call. Our main reception is still picking up the phone and able to direct your inquiry. Send an email, and we'll make sure that you can have an appointment, speak with Jenny, and we can work out what we need to work out to support you and your family during this time. Remote learning will involve a lot of computer use and a lot of internet use. And also, if you have concerns in that area about how you're placed as a family to support your student, please get in touch with us. We want to be there to support you and ensure that all of our students are able to access the learning that they need to. A little bit about Term 2 and remote learning and what that will look like. As you know, each of the students in our school have a Canvas account already, which is able to deliver all of the digital content that our students are going to need, whether that's the weekly tasks, the assignments, videos, learning resources, discussions and quizzes. And it will also be able to host live online classes for our students. So as we told you at the end of last term, we've created an online timetable where students will have at least one session a week in their various subjects with their subject teacher in a live environment through Canvas, through online conferencing. That timetable was sent to you and to your students, but if they have misplaced that or they need to check that, then it is available in their Canvas year level tile right at the top there. We've also placed in that year level tile a video guide for students on how to access those live conferences, because that's one of the features of Canvas that we've not used before. Some students were taught that in the last week on campus, but it's worth all students, I think, having a refresher. We will definitely start with our live teaching timetable from Tuesday next week. Please be aware that Tuesday next week at the start of Term 2 is a blue week. So students will be starting with their blue week timetable. And so from 9 a.m, students who have scheduled classes will be running at that time. The rest of the time, when your students are not in a live class, they will have work set through Canvas for them to work through. That will be easy for them to find. We've asked staff to put in a module at the top of each Canvas subject tile a weekly summary of the work that they need to go through, so that students will know exactly what's due and what they need to work through during that time. You may find it's worth encouraging your students to basically follow their normal school timetable at home. It can be very easy perhaps to emphasise the subjects that you really enjoy and never quite get around to working on those other subjects. But if they follow their usual school timetable more or less, they'll ensure that they're giving time to each subject as they need it. And we've set the online timetable to match that weekly time, so they won't get out of sync in terms of needing to be online to speak with their teachers. We feel really blessed that we already had Canvas in place prior to this need for remote learning. Canvas is a world-class learning management system. It is independent of our college's infrastructure. It doesn't need to go through our school servers. It's in the cloud. It's the same learning management system that Melbourne University and Werribee and RMIT and Swinburne are using. It's a very robust platform, and we have no doubts. We have total confidence in its ability to handle the amount of traffic that we're going to put through it at this time. We've got all our students already set up on that platform, and it's able to handle everything that we need it to do, including student submissions and giving feedback from teachers. If you have never had a look at Canvas, you can ask your son or daughter to open it up for you. If they have forgotten how to do that, I think most of them are pretty clear. There is a page inside the front of their school diary with a reminder of how to log on from home, and also a reminder of what to do if they forget their password. If you continue to experience technical difficulties, please send an email to werribee@heathyard.vic.edu.au, and they will be able to guide that to the appropriate person who can give you some help on that. During this time, students are going to be receiving regular individual feedback on their learning, and assessment will still be taking place in Term 2. Some of those assignments and tests will look a little bit different to how they would have looked if we were sitting at school, but our goal is to make sure that the students get through their Term 2 work, get through that understanding and that learning that they need, so that they can confidently move into the second half of the year. We'll also be at this time ensuring our Christian distinctive. So we trust in God, and we'll be encouraging our students to be trusting in God during this difficult time. Our day will begin with 8:30 devotions for students, which they will access through their year level tile. This is a really good way to make sure that they have some structure in their day. I don't know what your teenagers have been like, but we've had 2 weeks of holidays at our house and the mornings have started pretty late. So it's going to be a bit of a transition next Tuesday, but morning devotions, that familiar start of the day routine, will be there to help them to find their feet, to be up at their desk and ready to learn. Our lessons will still be presented from a biblical worldview, and we're not planning to lose any of our values, our care, our concern for students while we're online. And of course, paramount in that is child safety. And we have been talking with our staff about how we will be continuing to maintain child safety in this new environment for our students and for our families. So if your child during this process is experiencing some difficulties with any of their tasks, contacting the subject teacher via email is always the best way to go in the initial stages, and that can be contact from you or from your child. You'll remember that at the start of the year, you were sent out a list of email addresses for all the subjects teachers for your students. If you've lost that list or you'd like that refreshed, you can contact Werribee Secondary. They'll be happy to send that out to you again. But most of your children will know how to contact their teachers via email, and so that will be helpful to them. If I can just go back one slide, please. In addition to that, if you have any concerns that go beyond a single subject, maybe there are more general concerns about how your child is going, please contact the homeroom teachers and the year level coordinators of your child. Our pastoral care team and our heads of learning modules, our year level coordinators, are still obviously wanting to support students and help students in this time. Our learning enhancement staff are also still operating, and they've identified students with additional needs who are going to need some help during this time. Our Werribee Secondary Office, as I said, is always available as well. If you're not sure who to contact, contact them, and our wonderful admin staff, Joanna and Karen, will be able to find the right person to assist you with whatever is going on. If your child becomes unwell or for some reason can't attend their live classes for some reason, maybe for even an extended period of time, please let us know. We'd like to support you in that and make sure they're not missing out on too many things. All of our live classes will be recorded and the videos made available to the students on Canvas. So if for some reason your child can't connect to a live conference one day, maybe your internet goes down, or in your house you're sharing computers and they just couldn't get on at that time, they won't miss that teaching. They'll be able to go back and watch the video. Obviously, ideally, we'd like students involved in the live classes so that they can have interaction with their with their teachers and ask any questions that they need to. But if for some reason that's not possible one day, please don't panic. The video will go up later in the day so that your students can catch back up with that if they need to. Thanks. I'll just go forward now. Assessment, as I said, will still be happening in term 2. Obviously, face-to-face parent-teacher interviews will not be happening, but we will give more information soon about replacing those with phone calls with individual staff. Reports will still happen at the end of semester. They may look a little bit different from what they would have in ordinary circumstances, but they will still be a thorough assessment of the year, of the semester. And I would also encourage you to be keeping up with how your child is progressing in terms of the marks that they're getting throughout the term using Canvas. And to do that, a parent observer account is a great way to go. And if you've not got one of those before, you can go to the Parent Centre on our Heathdale website. And in the Parent Centre, if you scroll down, there's the information of how to join Canvas as a parent. You'll only need one account to see all of your children in one place, and that way you'll be able to see their marks. Some of you have the parent app, and that can be placed on your phone, and that is useful, but it only shows you a fraction of the information that's actually available if you log on online and have a look at the full screen version. So I'd encourage you to do that. Again, if you've got any questions or if you're struggling to find that on our website, please email Werribee Secondary and we will help you out with that. We're not sure at this stage whether mid-year exams will run. Week by week, the situation is changing. I'm sure you're in the same situation of trying to keep up with the progress of announcements as they come through, but early May we'll make a decision on how that looks. Canvas is able to support testing online, and we're also looking at different ways to do our assessment so that our students will still be able to demonstrate the learning that they have done, show that they have understood those content and skills, and enable teachers to make a fair assessment of their progress during the term. We, of course, might have the situation in which teachers themselves become ill. And if this happens, if a teacher is unwell or needs to take time off to care for someone in their family who is unwell, we will have staff members who will step in and continue their live classes just in the same way that we would do if we had a teacher who was unwell at school. For courses which are shared amongst a number of classes, so for example, for Year 8 Science, where there are 5 Year 8 homerooms, all doing the same Year 8 Science course, you'll find that different teachers will be contributing to that course together, and so they're well able to step in if a colleague is out of action for a little while and continue the learning for that class. One of our high priorities during this time is quality assurance of learning experiences across those different classes. So we want to make sure that whichever class homeroom you are in Year 8, for example, your science opportunities, the learning resources that you're given, the tasks you do on Canvas will be the same. And that's why sometimes your child may receive a teaching video from another Year 8 teacher or another Year 9 teacher who isn't their usual teacher. It's because our teachers are working in teams together to make sure that we consistently maintain the same experiences across the year level. This is likely to be for quite a time, as I've said, and so we need to make good routines with our children, our students, from the beginning. It would be really worth talking to your children, particularly about staying safe online, but also about being respectful online. Our staff code of conduct and our student code of conduct hasn't changed at all in an online environment, and we're still going to be expecting that students treat their teachers and each other with respect. And so it's important that students understand that as it is a different context that they're moving into. If your child gets stuck one day and is getting frustrated, I would encourage you to just send them on to the next task, maybe swap subjects, send an email to the teacher and come back to it. That kind of encouragement and support, keeping things positive, is going to be really important. Students are going to be stressed at times, and we really don't know what the next few weeks are going to bring. Staff are aiming to keep this next period of time very positive, very encouraging to students, and I know that you as parents will be as well. So if they get to a place where they really are struggling, please let us know, but please encourage them to move on, contact their teacher. Teachers are going to try and get back to everything as quickly as possible. Most teachers have many classes to teach, not just one, so that answer might not be immediate, and of course they still need weekends and downtime as well, but we will try and keep those replies within 48 hours, and we would encourage you to just move on to the next thing, and you can come back to it when you get some more help from teachers. I'm sure we're all going to need some patience and understanding in this time. As well as the academic work, we recognise that our students still want to keep in contact with each other, and there are many things about school that go beyond the classroom as well. So as the term goes on, we're going to include some homeroom times, some assemblies, some year level meetings. We're looking at how we can move some of our house activities online, And important things like careers interviews and subject planning interviews with our pathways coordinator, Mrs. Vicky Borden, will still be happening. And our pastoral care team is also going to be in touch with students, helping them with some fun activities, but also using that to check in on their wellbeing and making sure that they're tracking okay. For Year 12 students and parents, we recognise that you have particular concerns around this time. Obviously, this is a very different way to spend a Year 12 year. We're going to be in contact with a specific webinar and question and answer time for parents of Year 11s and Year 12s, particularly aimed at those who are in Year 12, but we recognise some of our Year 11 students are also taking Year 12 subjects. So look out for the invitation to that soon. Mr. Parker, our VCE coordinator, and Mrs. Borden, our pathways coordinator, have been sending out updates to your child through their Canvas account over the school break. So there's some important information there, and we're beginning to clarify things for students. Obviously, we're waiting on information ourselves. We're keeping pace with VTAC and with VICA, who control the Year 12 exams and the admission process and the ATAR. And we're going to continue to explain to you everything we know and do our very, very best to make sure this is a very successful year for all of our Year 12s. So finally, I just want to say we are on a huge learning curve. Some of our students are going to be very motivated and self-directed, and for others, this is going to be more of a challenge. And all students are also learning in a brand new environment, and teachers and parents at home, we're all working in new ways too. So we want to say to you that we're here to support you as you work through that. We want to provide the very best experience of remote learning we can for our students. We're going to be in learning mode as well as the students. And I'm sure that if we work together, this will be a very successful term. That encouragement, support and accountability are going to be the keys for student success. So we've had some questions coming through as I've been talking, and I'm going to address some of them now. And you're welcome to add some more. If we don't get to all of them, we'll answer some of them offline as we go through. One of the questions that's come through is about elective subjects in Year 9 that are more of a practical element like woodwork and food. We're currently working around that. Our highest priority is the practical subjects for Year 12s, obviously Year 11s and 12s. And the state government has said that we have a limited ability to bring in students under social distancing conventions for specific tasks, particularly assessment tasks that involve practical components that cannot be done at home. So our biggest priority there is supporting students, for example, chemistry students or other subjects where they really, in order to show their learning, in order to be able to go through the VCE requirements, need to have some on-campus delivery of practical tasks. We'll be contacting them. We're not in a situation where we can be consistent with what the government is asking us to do and regularly have students on campus, but we have some exceptions for VCAL and VCE students. I would also encourage you that although a term is a long time, we are hoping that the second half of the year will be much more normal. And so what we're able to do for some of our practical subjects is shift some of the theory component that we might do throughout the year, bring that into term 2 so that in terms 3 and 4 it can be a more extended practical time. Our teachers are working hard on how to deliver that, and we're coming up with some creative ways to do that. I've already seen some videos for year 9 and 10 textiles students on hand sewing and things like that. That's a work in progress. They're obviously much harder for us to deliver than some of the standard academic subjects, but certainly something that we're considering. Another question is, will Year 12 continue through to December this year for Heathdale students? Yes, it will. We want to make the most of that opportunity for that extended teaching time. We're putting in place lots of things for our Year 11s and 12s. We've been able to get some extra digital resources, extend our Edrollo program. But obviously, if we have the opportunity to have extended face-to-face teaching time prior to the exams, we will certainly be taking that up. Another question is, my child is finding it difficult using a Mac laptop. Is there any support available for equipment usage? Yes, please get in contact with us. There's a limit to how much tech support we can do, but we will try our best. Canvas is device agnostic, which means Canvas should work on any device, whether it be an iOS or an Android device. One thing that I will say is that Canvas prefers Chrome and Firefox. So perhaps if you're a Mac user and you're struggling with the Safari browser, I'd encourage you to download Firefox or to download Chrome and operate through that, and hopefully that will give you a better experience. But if that continues, please email Werribee Secondary and we'll try and find someone to help you with that. Will we be holding a seminar on how this affects Year 12? We certainly will. We've got some really specific information we want to give you, and so we'll do that fairly soon. Obviously, we're trying to find the right point of time to do that because we're receiving information on a weekly basis, but that will be coming up very soon. Please look forward to the invite for that. Will Term 2 fees be the same? This is a question that we're getting asked at the moment. Our first priority is to be able to assist those families who have already been significantly impacted by the circumstances around COVID-19. So initially we put out that invitation to make an appointment with our accounts department, and if you haven't done that already and there are issues for you around fees, please do that. If you have longer term concerns, please get in contact with us. It's not too early to start talking to us about what's happening. As far as whether we'll be discounting across everybody as a blanket statement, that's something that we're looking at now and we're considering. And so I don't have a particular answer on that. As I said, our priority has been for those families who are under immediate stress, but more information will come out on that in due time. Look, thanks for your time. I appreciate that there were probably more questions and some of them are being answered by my administrators in the chat. Please, if you have additional questions, please send them to question@heathdale.vic.edu.au. We're really happy to hear from you. We're all still working remotely from home, but we're all still working, so we're really still here. And I'm also going to be sending out some information to students so they have a really good picture of what Tuesday's start looks like. Thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it.